Welcome to Awesome Chapter. This is the show where we get into the world's most inspiring and influential books. We pull out the core ideas, the science, the practical stuff, so you can start using it right away.
And today we are really focusing our energy on a tool, a phenomenon really, that has changed millions of lives. We're talking about Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule, Transform Your Life, Work, and Confidence with Everyday Courage.
That title is a mouthful, and it suggests this huge scope, right? Transformation, confidence, courage.
It does.
But the solution itself is, well, almost deceptively simple. Our mission today is to really unpack this tool, this piece of metacognition, and give you a full picture of its power.
So here's the challenge we're putting out there for you listening. What if the secret to beating procrastination, anxiety, that nagging self-doubt, what if it isn't years of therapy or some massive complicated plan?
Right, what if it's just a 5-second countdown?
Exactly.
It almost sounds like a gimmick, I have to admit. But the proof is really in Mel Robbins' own story. I mean, we're talking about someone who went from complete financial ruin, a marriage on the rocks, and, a daily fight with just getting out of bed.
To becoming this huge global speaker and a really successful entrepreneur. And she gives all the credit to this one tiny but honestly profound technique.
So today we're going to get into the crisis that made this discovery necessary, the neuroscience that explains why counting backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 actually forces you to act, and how this unlocks what she calls everyday courage.
It's time to find out how you can shake up your own life. And it all starts with that simple sequence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so to really get the power of the 5-second rule, we have to understand where it came from. This was not something cooked up in a lab.
No, not at all. It was forged in crisis. Mel Robbins herself says that 2009 was her absolute rock bottom.
She was 41, and by her own account, her life was just in this catastrophic failure loop.
Absolutely. We're talking serious financial trouble liens on their house, business debt that had just wiped out their savings, checks bouncing left and right. Her self-esteem was completely shot.
And the tension with her husband must have been constant.
Constant and thick. And the one behavior that kind of captured all of this failure was something so simple, so mundane.
The snooze button.
The snooze button. It was a paralysis. Every single morning she'd wake up and just feel this immediate heavy dread. Dread about the debt, dread about the work she wasn't doing, dread about her own failure. And what does she do?
She hit snooze.
Not just once, 2, 3, sometimes 4 times every morning.
And she's clear that this wasn't just, laziness. It was a kind of psychological battle she was fighting with herself.
Exactly. She saw the snooze button as an act of defiance. It was this fleeting, fake feeling of control.
Like, the world is crushing me, but at least I can control this 9 minutes.
Precisely. I'm staying right here. Take that, life. But of course, that little moment of control was just more self-sabotage. It led to chaotic mornings, the kids missing the bus, and this just deepening feeling of shame that completely eroded her confidence.
She was trapped. She knew what she should do, but she just couldn't make herself do it.
That feeling is so relatable. Knowing better, but acting worse. And the financial situation just made everything a pressure cooker.
Tell us a bit more about that. Her husband's business, right?
Right. Her husband, Chris, had a thin crust pizza restaurant business.
Yeah.
And it expanded way too fast. They put everything on the line. Their savings, their home equity. The second restaurant failed. The wholesale business was hemorrhaging cash. They were getting hounded by creditors.
Yeah.
I mean, she talks about how they actually unplugged their home phone just to avoid these terrifying calls from lawyers and debt collectors.
And under that kind of pressure, people you default to the easiest coping mechanism, which for her was avoidance.
Avoidance, and she admits some pretty poor behavior. Drinking too much, being super critical of her husband, blaming him instead of, mobilizing herself to find a job. She was stuck in this spiral. And surrender is a habit, just like courage is.
And then comes the moment, the thing that changed everything, a random TV commercial.
The classic eureka moment. She's in bed late one night, about to turn off the TV, and a commercial comes on with a rocket launch. You see the final countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Fire, smoke, liftoff.
And this immediate, almost unconscious thought just flashes into her head.
Yes, before her rational, doubting mind could shut it down. The thought was, I'll launch myself out of bed tomorrow morning. Like a rocket. I'll move so fast I won't have time to talk myself out of it.
It sounds kind of silly when you say it out loud.
And she thought so too. She almost dismissed it. But that tiny, fleeting, stupid thought was the seed. The next morning, the alarm goes off. The dread comes back. Her mind starts with the excuses. That rocket thing is dumb. You need more sleep.
But she did it.
She chose to honor that weird little instinct. She counted out loud, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just physically forced herself up onto her feet. And that physical movement at 1, that was everything.
Okay, so this brings up a really fascinating point about cognitive science. Why should we trust these fleeting little goal-related instincts? Why are they so important?
Well, Mel argues this is your inner wisdom talking, and it's not some kind of, mystical thing. It's actually backed by research from places like the University of Arizona and Duke. They found this really powerful link between setting a goal and your brain sending you these instinctual signals.
So if I set a goal, let's say, to get healthier, my brain is kind of on the lookout for me.
Exactly. Your brain sets up this internal monitoring system. So if your goal is getting healthier and you walk past a gym, your brain's goal processing networks literally light up. You get that little nudge, that impulse, oh, I should sign up, or I should go for a run later.
And Mel's whole point is that you have to act on that nudge fast.
Immediately. That impulse is incredibly fragile. If you don't act on it within about 5 seconds, your brain's default system, the one that avoids effort and uncertainty, it just kills the idea.
It's like your inner genius whispering an idea and your inner critic shouting it down.
A perfect way to put it. Your brain is trying to guide you, but if you pause to think about it, to worry, to rationalize, the opportunity is just gone.
And history is full of these amazing stories of people who acted on what probably seemed like a silly little impulse at the time.
Totally. Think about John Walker in 1826. He's a chemist stirring chemicals, and he notices this dried-up gob of gunk on his stirring stick.
His instinct is just to scrape it off, right?
Right, a totally mundane action. But when he scrapes it against the stone floor, it just bursts into flame. It completely surprises him. That one immediate action led to the friction match. If he'd waited, who knows?
Or the guy who invented Velcro, George de Mistral.
Yes. It wasn't some grand vision, it was just annoyance. He was tired of pulling cockleburrs off his dog's fur after every walk in 1941.
So instead of just throwing them away,
his instinct was to look at them under a microscope. That simple, immediate act of curiosity, why do these things stick so well, led to the hook and loop fastener, Velcro.
And what about Post-it notes? That's another great one.
Art Fry at 3M. He was frustrated because the little paper slips he used to mark his church hymnal kept falling out. He knew about this weak, temporary adhesive a colleague had invented, which was considered a failure. And he had the instant thought, I could put that on a bookmark. He just acted on it.
He turned a failure into one of the most successful office products ever.
And even something like the Frappuccino wasn't some corporate directive. It was an assistant manager at a Starbucks in Santa Monica in 1992. He noticed sales were terrible in the summer.
Because no one wants hot coffee when it's 90 degrees out.
Right. So his instinct wasn't to write a memo. It was to start experimenting right then and there with a frozen blended coffee drink.
The common thread in all these is honoring that first impulse. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait to feel motivated. They just moved.
And Mel's first 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 launch out of bed was exactly that. It was just a bet on herself and her own inner wisdom, no matter how ridiculous the method felt.
So we've covered the why. You have to act fast on that instinct. Now let's get into the how. What is the exact mechanical definition of the 5-second rule?
Okay, so the rule is this. The moment you have an instinct or a goal to act on something you know you should do but you'd normally hesitate, you must immediately count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then physically move.
And the physical movement is the key part. It's not just a mental exercise.
It is non-negotiable. The count is the bridge to the action. It's the launch mechanism.
So the counting does two things. It's a starting ritual, which makes sense. But you also called it a metacognition tool. Let's break that down.
Metacognition is basically thinking about thinking. It's your ability to step outside of your own thought process and observe it. When you use the rule, you are consciously interrupting your automatic, default, and frankly often destructive thought loops.
The loops that give you all the excuses and the fear and the self-doubt.
Exactly. You're taking control of how your mind is responding to a goal instead of just letting it run on autopilot.
Okay, and why backwards? Why 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That seems like a small detail, but it's important.
It's a huge detail. This was discovered by people actually trying to rule. If you count forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your brain can just keep going 6, 7, 8. Maybe I'll do it later.
Right, there's no endpoint.
But counting backward, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 provides a hard stop. It's a termination sequence. When you hit 1, there is nowhere else to go but action, like a rocket launch. It forces your mind to focus on the movement.
And the really critical discovery here was that 5-second window itself.
She realized that in that tiny little space between the impulse like, I should call that client,
Hmm.
and your conscious response, oh, I'm not ready, what if they say no? In that gap, the brain's self-sabotage sequence kicks in.
So that little pause, that hesitation is what she calls the kiss of death.
It's the kiss of death. It is not a harmless pause. It's an active trigger for a system in your brain that is designed to stop you from doing anything that feels hard or scary or uncertain.
It's a deeply wired habit system. We're biologically programmed to avoid discomfort.
Right. Our self-sabotage system is very, very good at its job, protecting our ego and saving energy. If you pause, your brain will flood you with excuses to keep you safe and comfortable. The rule just bypasses that entire system by demanding you move before the excuses can even get organized.
Which brings us to this neurological battle that the rule is actually forcing us to fight and win.
We're talking about a fight between two parts of your brain, the basal ganglia and the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, so the basal ganglia is what? The autopilot.
That's a perfect term for it. It handles all your habits and routines, brushing your teeth, driving to work, and unfortunately, procrastinating or hitting the snooze button. It's super efficient, but it hates change.
And the prefrontal cortex is the conscious pilot.
Right. That's the part responsible for focus, planning, logic, and deliberate change. It's the most human part of our brain, but it takes a lot of energy to use. When you're doing something new or difficult, you have to engage the prefrontal cortex.
So when you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're doing a conscious, focused task.
Exactly. That focused count, that active metacognition, it actively wakes up the prefrontal cortex. It takes effort and attention, and that's enough to override the default habitual pull of the basal ganglia. You're literally grabbing the controls from the autopilot that just wants to stay in bed.
And this connects directly to that finding from neuroscientist Antonio Damasio.
It does. Damasio's big finding was that humans are feeling machines that think, not the other way around. We like to believe we're logical, but the reality is that about 95% of our daily decisions are based entirely on how we feel in that moment.
How tired we feel, how anxious, how unmotivated.
Exactly. And if that's true, if you only act when you feel like it, you are doomed. You will never, ever change if the change is hard.
Because new things rarely feel good at first.
They feel uncomfortable, awkward, difficult. The rule is the tool that disconnects your actions from your feelings. You feel exhausted, but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You put your running shoes on. The action comes before the feeling, and very often the action itself creates the motivation you were waiting for.
It's a brilliant little neurological hack. You're using the planning part of your brain to interrupt the habit part of your brain, all within that tiny 5-second window.
All right, let's just take a quick pause right here. If this idea of hijacking your brain's autopilot and understanding the science of real change is grabbing you, please take a second to like and subscribe to Awesome Chapter. Your support really helps us keep exploring these incredible books. Okay, now let's get into the biggest outcome of this simple countdown: courage.
So the ultimate payoff of the rule, and this is what Mel Robbins really hammers home, it goes way beyond just being more productive. It fundamentally changes how you see yourself by building what she calls everyday courage.
And she totally reframes what courage even means. She takes it down off this pedestal where we only think of heroes or soldiers. Exactly. Courage isn't just for heroes. Everyday courage is making the decision to do the small things that feel difficult or uncertain. She says it's a birthright. It's inside all of us. It's just dormant.
And the examples are so relatable. It's the courage to get out of bed, sure, but it's also the courage to ask for that raise you know you deserve.
Or to enroll in that second degree, like Martin's story in the book. Or to make that scary sales call. Or even just something like talking to someone attractive at a bar, like the story about Tom.
The real key here seems to be the compounding effect.
That's it. One moment of courage, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 launch, can change the direction of your whole day. And if you string enough of those courageous days together, you can change your entire life.
The book talks a lot about this trap that we all fall into, the trap of waiting and overthinking. Why is waiting so bad?
Well, waiting feels passive, but she argues it's actually an active form of self-sabotage. We tell ourselves we're waiting for the right time, or waiting until we feel more confident.
Or until we have every single detail planned out perfectly.
Right. But while you're waiting, you're actively convincing yourself over and over that now is not the time.
And psychologically, what's the point of that? What purpose does it serve?
It protects the ego.
Yeah.
And the story that illustrates this perfectly is about her daughter, Kendall, who was avoiding an audition for a singing gig in New York.
And Kendall was really talented, right?
Sure.
She'd been recommended for it.
Highly talented. But she just kept ghosting the opportunity, wouldn't follow up. And when Mel finally asked her why, Kendall said something brutally honest. She wasn't afraid of the audition.
She was afraid of the outcome.
Exactly. She said, "What if I didn't make it, Mom? What if I found out I wasn't as good as I think I am? If I don't audition, at least I can keep telling myself that I'm amazing. I'm just too lazy to have what I want."
Wow. So by not acting, you preserve this perfect image of yourself, but you completely eliminate any real possibility of success. That's a huge trade-off.
It's the absolute essence of fear-based procrastination. We would rather have the comfortable illusion of our own potential than face the difficult reality of effort and possible failure.
It's that Wayne Gretzky quote, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's it. And the regret, as so many stories in the book show, doesn't come from trying and failing. It comes from holding back and always wondering, what if?
So the big mindset shift is realizing that the fear of failure is often less powerful than the fear of finding out the truth about ourselves. And the only way past that is to just push through it.
Yes. You have to ask, what if you're wrong? What if you are good enough? What if your idea is brilliant? The rule forces you out of your head and into the world before your ego can build up its defenses.
And this need for a push, whether it's from yourself or someone else, it's universal, even for historical giants.
Oh, absolutely. Take Michelangelo.
Yeah.
In 1506, the Pope asks him to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, this massive, almost impossible task. And Michelangelo, he freaked out.
He didn't think he could do it. He saw himself as a sculptor, not a painter.
So what did he do? He fled Rome. He hid in Florence for 2 years. The Pope literally had to stalk him and pressure him to come back and do the work.
That is an incredible story. Even one of the greatest artists in history needed a huge push to overcome his fear.
Or look at Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple. When they got their first real investor in 1977, Wozniak got cold feet. He was terrified. He wanted to wait to make the product more perfect.
He just didn't feel ready.
He needed Steve Jobs, his friends, even his parents, to push him hard to take that leap and start the company. It just shows that not feeling ready is a normal part of the process. It's not a stop sign.
This even applies to these huge moments of social change.
For sure. Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. both acted on instinct, not some big, detailed plan. Parks described herself as quiet and shy. She didn't plan to get arrested. She just had this immediate, visceral instinct that what was happening was wrong, and she refused to move. No hesitation.
And Dr. King.
When he was nominated to lead the Montgomery bus boycott right after Parks's arrest, he later admitted that if he had stopped to think it through, he would have said no. He would have been too scared.
The implication for us, for anyone listening, is so clear. If these world-changing figures would have backed down if they had hesitated, then we have to accept that our brain's default setting is not courage.
We all need a system, a way to give ourselves that push. The rule provides that system to choose action over feelings right in the moment.
Okay, so the rule is brilliantly practical, and it starts with the simplest but often the hardest thing, your morning routine. Mel calls it the wake-up challenge.
Yes, the wake-up challenge is the fastest way to see how this works. You just set your alarm 30 minutes earlier than usual. The second it goes off, you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you physically get out of bed. No thinking, no pausing, just move.
And she insists on making it feel hard. One of the users she quotes, Stephen, said his first few times just plain sucked.
Because she wants you to experience something called activation energy. It's a term from chemistry.
Yeah.
It's the minimum energy you need to start a reaction. Think about pushing a stalled car.
It takes a huge amount of effort to get it moving at first.
A huge amount. But once it's rolling, it takes way less energy to keep it going. That miserable feeling of leaving a warm bed, that's the activation energy for your day.
And once you master that one single hard decision,
You prove to your brain that you are in charge, that you can act even when you feel uncomfortable, and that control over your morning becomes a catalyst for change everywhere else. Rachel, for example, started with the alarm, and it led to her losing 30 pounds, buying a house, and reconnecting with her husband.
one small win created a chain reaction.
Exactly. And speaking of the morning, we have to talk about the science of why the snooze button isn't just a bad habit. It is actively terrible for your productivity.
This was one of the most eye-opening parts of the book for me. People think they're getting a little extra rest.
But it's the opposite. When your first alarm goes off, your brain is already starting the process of waking up. But when you hit snooze, you tell your brain, never mind, go back to sleep.
So it tries to start a whole new sleep cycle.
It does, a full 90 to 110-minute cycle. So when the alarm goes off again 9 minutes later, you are interrupting that cycle deep in the middle. You're yanking your brain out of deep sleep.
And specifically, You're interrupting the cortical region, the part that handles decision-making and self-control.
Precisely. This causes what scientists call sleep inertia, like groggy, foggy, impaired feeling. And the scary part is it's not brief. It can negatively impact your focus and productivity for up to 4 hours.
4 hours. You're basically sabotaging half of your morning for 9 extra minutes of terrible sleep.
You are. So the key to being productive is to protect those peak cognitive hours, which are usually the first 2 or 3 hours of your day. The rule is how you stop yourself from engaging in that destructive snooze behavior in the first place.
And Mel Robbins has a very specific 5-step routine for owning those morning hours.
A tactical system to stop your day from being hijacked by other people's priorities before it even starts.
Let's walk through it step by step.
Okay, step 1. Get up when the alarm rings. No snooze. This is the foundation. Use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to force it.
Step 2. Keep your phone or alarm away from the bed. This seems so simple, but it's huge.
It is absolutely critical. If the phone is right there, your first action is to check email, social media, news. The second you do that, you are reacting to other people's problems and demands before you have even thought about your own goals.
It derails you immediately. You go from proactive to reactive.
Instantly, putting the phone across the room forces you to physically get up and make a conscious decision to engage with the outside world instead of just defaulting to it.
Okay, step 3. Use the 3 to 5 minutes while you're brushing your teeth to identify 1 to 3 smart musts for the day.
And it's crucial. These are musts for your goals, not just a random to-do list. The time limit forces you to be clear and not overthink. You're defining the 1 to 3 things that will actually move you forward on your big goals.
Step 4. Write down these musts. And importantly, the why. Why is writing them down so powerful?
Well, research from Dr. Gail Matthews shows you're 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. The physical act just commits it to memory. And writing down the why, the deeper reason you want to do it, gives you an emotional anchor to come back to when your motivation fades later in the day.
And then the final step, step 5, the 30 before 7:30 a.m. tool.
This is the turbocharge. You dedicate 30 minutes to either planning or starting your most important task, your number 1 must, before you check email. You use your brain when it's at its absolute peak on your most important work.
So even if the rest of your day gets crazy with meetings and problems, you've already won. You've accomplished the most important thing.
You've executed on your highest priority. And this same discipline can be applied to what is, for many people, the hardest area of all.
Health?
Health and fitness.
Yeah.
The book is very clear that changing your health is 100% a mental game.
We all know this. We say, I know what I should do, I just don't feel like doing it.
And the truth is, you will never feel like it. Never. The feeling of effort is right now, but the reward of getting fit is way off in the future. Your feelings are the worst possible guide for long-term health.
So the rule is what gets you past that feeling.
It just forces the action. You feel tired, but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You go to the gym. You're tempted by that donut, but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You walk away. Your mind is the battlefield, and the rule is your strategy to win.
And the stories of transformation here are they're incredible.
Look at Charlie. He started at 383 pounds. He used the 5-second rule to force himself to stick to his juicing plan for 529 straight days.
Wow.
He lost 176 pounds. Do you think he felt like drinking juice for 529 days? No way. But his commitment was stronger than his feelings.
Or Greg Cheek, who ran 10 marathons after being diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. That's just a whole other level of everyday courage.
It really is. And finally, there's Alice's story, which shows how the rule can work on these complex mental health battles. She was 19, suffering from crippling anxiety and agoraphobia.
Which was leading to other problems, right? Weight gain, pressure from her parents about her college major.
A whole bundle of stressors. So she just started using the rule for tiny things. When she felt the anxiety building, it was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Joe. Take 1 step outside. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Joe. Go for a walk. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Joe. Have the hard conversation with her parents.
And it worked.
She lost 28 pounds and successfully changed her major to something she was actually passionate about.
Her story really proves the rule isn't just about physical action. It's about taking control of your thoughts and overcoming fear, whether it's fear of the outside world or fear of disappointing the people you love.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 5-second rule, let's just quickly summarize the core elements of this really powerful technique.
It's a simple, science-backed metacognition tool. It's all about cultivating everyday courage. And it works as an immediate pattern interrupt for that destructive habit of hesitation.
It works because it forces you to act in that critical 5-second window between your instinct and your brain's resistance.
And by counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then moving, you are consciously activating your prefrontal cortex. You're overriding the part of your brain that just wants to stay comfortable and do nothing.
You're replacing that negative default habit loop with a bias toward action.
And this constant self-pushing, whether it's with the snooze button or your health goals or your career, it builds real confidence. The kind of confidence that only comes from proving to yourself over and over again through small, courageous acts that you are capable.
The 5-second rule is basically the ignition key that helps you unlock the best version of yourself, one 5-second decision at a time.
And we should leave you with this thought. If you have the courage to start, you have the courage to succeed.
We really hope this exploration of Mel Robbins' work has inspired you to push past your own hesitation and find your everyday courage. We definitely encourage you to pick up the book and start using the rule today.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to support Awesome Chapter. It helps us stay updated and bring you more explorations of incredible books. We look forward to seeing you next time.